Hello and welcome back to Josh Davidson Books. This is my author channel where I'm going through an author commentary reread of my first novel, Werewolves Hide. It is part of the preparation that I'm doing while I'm working on the sequel. I'm just calling Book 2 right now. We'll have a title reveal later on the channel. If you are interested in following along and supporting me, the book is only $4.99 digital on Amazon. I've got links in the video description. Please consider reading the book yourself and not having me spoil it for you. If you are still on the fence and you're not sure if you want to actually commit and support and buy the book and read it for yourself, you can continue to enjoy and read along the author commentary. I do stop quite frequently to share my ideas and thoughts and intentions as the person who wrote the book. And I'm also not reading it in really any sort of performative way. It's just for me, for my own homework while I'm working on the sequel. If you're new around here, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss the rest of the series and see what I have coming in the future for the sequel. So in the first few chapters, we introduce the main characters, we introduce the setting, put a little bit of air of mystery at the beginning with the wolf creature and with the digging that Tommy talks about. And so now that we have characters established and world established, something needs to happen. Story elements need to start to reveal themselves. So let's see what happens in Chapter 5. So we are back with Madison to begin. Madison is sitting in her work area per usual. Chess is on in the background and pajamas are the work outfit for the day, along with her left wrist strap. She sets her empty coffee cup down while struggling to scratch an itch on her back. It's right around the shoulder blade, just out of reach of both of her hands. Eventually giving in to using a back scratcher, she pulls it out of her wrist strap drawer, relieving the itchiness. It's about her lunchtime, but she's stuck on one last call before getting to step away. And I really wanted, Madison is kind of a unique, reclusive character where she really has no connection to the outside world. And that kind of makes it difficult for her to have like relatable moments or things that a character can experience that you as the reader can say, oh, I've been there, because not a lot of people have been where Madison has been specifically. But I just feel like every human being that has ever lived and will ever live always gets one of those scratches that you can't reach in the worst part of your back. And so, when you're with somebody, a family member or a friend, they can scratch it for you. When you're alone, you're forced to suffer or resolve it yourself. So I wonder if that's going to come up later as far as Madison, her character growth and realizing the benefits of being around other people. The elderly gentleman on the other end is almost in tears. I thought it was clear. I could have swore it was clear. I was just trying to go get my lotto, and I just, he starts to break down. Madison rolls her eyes and tries to wrap this up. Sir, I understand you're distraught, but I promise everything is going to be okay. Take a deep breath and finish this thought. I'll send you the rest of the details you need to your daughter's email. The gentleman composes himself with a deep exhale. Okay. He sniffles and clears his throat. I backed out too sharp and hit the neighbor's car parked on the roadway, okay? He starts to get angrier the more he describes it. And it shouldn't have even been there in the effing first place, because Christ, he's got a mile-long driveway. It's like he wanted me to hit it. Is this guy setting me up? Is this a sting operation? Madison's eyes have rolled out of the back of her head and exited the stratosphere. No, sir, I don't think so, but thank you for clarifying that you accidentally bumped into a parked and unoccupied vehicle. Our appraisers will be in contact with you. Have a good afternoon. Before his rant can continue, Madison ends the call and takes her headset off. So I wanted to reestablish and remind, it's been a few chapters, we're with Madison again. I wanted to remind of her character, remind of her career, but get out of there. Just a little bitty interaction with a little extra bonus customer, and it adds for a little bit of comic relief and just kind of levity, I suppose. As she reaches for her phone, the screen lights up and shows she has several notifications indicating multiple messages and calls have been missed. She starts with the first one, which reads, Blue Ridge Breaking News. She presses play on the news story and shares her screen with the television on the wall. The chess tournament that was on gets replaced by a Blue Ridge Breaking News bulletin logo as the news video plays. It opens with a B-roll of an early morning car crash. The lower third text pasted over the news package reads, Previously aired on our morning broadcast. A blue, heavy-duty truck has the center of its front end completely smashed in, approximately 2.5 feet up through the middle of the hood. It looks like a horseshoe had wrapped around a steel pole that withstood the impact. The female field journalist narrates the footage. This was the scene just after sunrise this morning, 4 miles east of Blue Ridge city limits on Highway J. A husband and wife, visiting on vacation for a tour of Blue Ridge Park, were heading back into town after a peaceful evening at the camping grounds, when suddenly horror struck. This interview has been edited for content, but viewer discretion is still advised. The B-roll footage cuts away from the crashed truck to a talking head interview with a survivor. He's in his late 30s wearing a trucker hat and glasses. They're slightly foggy from his assumed recent crying. The field reporter asks questions off camera with the microphone in his face. She continues, "And you're sure it wasn't a moose?" Yeah, we're sure. He's blown a gasket. A moose? A moose? You gotta be, are you out of your effing mind? We're not talking about no moose, okay? It's the effing devil. The devil killed my wife. You understand, ma'am? The reporter maintains her professionalism. The devil is in Blue Ridge. That's what you're saying? Oh, yeah. And what makes you say that? What makes you so sure? He quiets down but still carries on in a whispered rage. I'm sure because I've seen it with my own eyes. My eyes! He takes his glasses off and points it at his face. It was a big, hairy monster. 8 feet tall, with demon claws coming out of both arms and a scar or a mark of some kind, white scrapes on its left shoulder. He gestures to his shoulder as if to scratch himself to demonstrate the marking's location. He stares back at the crash site and starts to break down again. Tears swell as he finishes. We fought the devil with the 2-ton reinforced heavy-duty truck, and the devil won. The devil won, and he took my fiancée with him. And that's all you effing get. The man walks away from the interview and holds his head in his hands. The camera pans away from him back toward the crash site. The reporter's narration continues. A small, tranquil town just outside of one of the most popular parks in Wyoming is once again struck by tragedy. This, of course, will remind longtime viewers and local residents of a similar occurrence that happened nearly 20 years ago. Also a single-vehicle accident. That crash sadly took the lives of a young father. She trails off. She continues, as a grainy old stock photos of Sam, his dad, and Bo are all shown as the reporter talks about them. Of a young father and his young son. One young boy managed to escape the wreck, mostly uninjured, and I guess there's at least that to be thankful for. The video package ends with a photo of Bo sitting in the back seat of a police car with his old baseball hat on. He has a medical blanket wrapped around his shoulders and is looking out the side window. So I really, really, really wanted to start wrapping things together and build up the intrigue and show that, like, how that first accident, it didn't just matter to Bo. It might matter to the whole town. Because now we have a second accident 20 years later at the exact same spot with the exact same monster that we had seen before. Suddenly, a large ding is heard as another notification interrupts the footage on the television. It's a text message from Bo that reads, "Hello? Is this still your number or what?" Madison is in a state of shock. She immediately recognized the highway location and is almost panicking at being forced to see those old photos again. She slowly reaches for her phone and fumbles to end the screen share. Back on her phone, it's clear all of the notifications were missed texts and calls from Bo. She stares at the reply box in the text message and contemplates what to say, if anything at all. Her eyes get a little watery, but she breathes it in and holds back the tears. With her fingers still hovering over the text box, there's a knock, 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 knock at the door. I would do it now, but my dog would bark. Which my dog, coincidentally enough, might look like Billy the dog. Madison pops her head sideways out of the office entrance and stares slightly at the front of her house. Just when she starts to relax and assumes they left, a knock, 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 knock happens again. Her feet hurriedly scamper softly toward the front of the house. Just before the door is answered, she realizes her pajamas are still on. A frantic turnaround has her anxiously looking for something to cover up with. She finds her robe draped over the back of the living room couch, snatching it quickly and throwing it on as she slowly opens the door. Standing on the porch With the hot Wyoming sun shining into the house over his shoulders is Bo, right there at her home entrance. They nod awkwardly, acknowledging that they missed each other, but maybe were hoping they'd never have to see each other again. Bo lets himself in and walks past Madison towards the kitchen. "Hey, you got any coffee?" he asks as he lets himself in to find out for himself. Bo is immediately comfortable in the kitchen and knows precisely which cupboard to open for the coffee grounds. He puts 2 heaping scoops into the filter and puts it into the front compartment of the coffee maker. The excess grounds that spilled onto the counter get wiped down onto the floor as the pot quickly fills up with water in the sink. Closing one eye to eyeball the measurement, he nods to himself in approval. Close enough. He shuts the faucet off and pours the water into the top of the coffee maker. Madison quietly watches him from the edge of the kitchen as he sets the pot underneath the machine to catch the coffee as it cooks. So Bo has been this timid, quiet, reserved, really also almost isolated, just like Madison, character, except for the fact that he has a rough side, an edginess to him. He's not afraid to fight. Madison resolves conflict with her intellect and her problem solving, and Bo resolves conflict by turning his hat the other way around and punching you in the face. I wanted to immediately establish that these characters had a history and a comfort. He lets himself in. She's not mad about it. That should tell you something about both of them. Madison has her arms crossed. She's guarded but curious. It's been a while. Bo leans against the counter and mirrors her arms crossing. Yeah. The coffee continues to fill in the silence. Is that because things are better, or you didn't want my help anymore? I just grew up and tried to figure out things for myself, I guess. Bo looks at the coffee. It's not quite ready. Madison scoffs. Grown up. Drunken bar fights and jobless with a baby on the way. That grown up? Listen, if I didn't feel like I owed you, I wouldn't be here. I don't need a lecture on how much of a F-up I am. I'm well aware. You don't owe me anything, Bo. However, you do owe some things to yourself and that girl of yours. And you owe it to that kid. First of all, you don't even know how much you owe it to that kid, okay? She picks up the sternness to put this squabble to bed. Bo taps out. Fair enough, I'll keep doing better, but you know why I'm here. Madison exhales. The crash, obviously. But what about it? You just need someone to talk to because of old memories flaring up? Bo pours himself a cup of fresh, hot coffee from the pot. He slowly blows the steam away and takes a long, slurpy sip. He smacks his lips with delicious satisfaction. How's that for ASMR? It's the same. Madison wants to shut down the reopening of these wounds immediately. I get it. It's very familiar. Your nightmares probably came back, and that's completely understandable. I'm expecting to have some myself. And yeah, it's the same road, but it's the same, Bo exclaims, just under shouting. He shakes so hard that some hot coffee spills out of the cup onto his hand. Madison motions to him to wipe it off, but he ignores it. It's the same. Not similar, not sort of alike, exactly the same. I remember it. I remember the monster. Madison unfolds her arms and stands up straight. What monster? The dark wolf with white slashes. Bo turns around and looks out the kitchen window at the mountainous horizon. The way that guy acted, I knew even before he said it. A giant black fur monster with white slashes down its shoulder. It was there, Aunt Maddie. There that night of our crash. And it's back. And I'm going to effing kill it. Ooh. Bo means business. Madison is in complete shock. Bo, how come you never told me about this? Not just you, I never told anyone because it didn't matter because they were gone and it was just me. So if people wanted to say it was a buffalo or those big rocks out there, like who gives a S? They're gone and I'm effed, you know? No one would have believed me anyway. He chugs the rest of his coffee and turns back around to face her. But now they will. Now you will. I can't live like this for another 20 years. I need to know. I need to know why I got pictures of my best friend and his dad, and I'm the only one left alive in them. Madison walks closer to him. Whatever it is you think you saw, or even if you did see it, seeing it again, confronting it, killing it, what's done is done. She starts to regurgitate empathy scripting from her job. The accident happened and we can't change that. We just got to move forward the best we can till the end and hope the end is far. Again, as a reminder, I'm blanking out the language, but if you want the full experience of Bo's colorfulness, just read the book yourself. Oh, F all that BS, and you know it. You could have just accepted it and moved on when my mom was beating me. But you didn't, did you? No. You came over here, and you beat her right back. And you brought me right here, and made me Coco right here. He points down to the floor in the spot that he's standing in. Madison looks at the floor and the cup he's holding, remembering how it used to be Coco when he was young. She glances over at the fridge and sees the photo booth pictures, her and Sam together laughing. Right, but you're grown up now, remember? She looks back at Bo. At least you got a chance to. Madison takes the empty coffee cup from Bo's hands and puts it in the sink. She stays holding on to him. Now, if you've got stuff going on and you need me again or you need help, I'm here for you. But besides that, I got to get back to work, and I'm expecting you to as well. Take that girl and kid of yours nice places. Save up for it now. You'll thank me later. I've only got a couple paragraphs left, so I'll go ahead and finish it, and then I'll kind of talk about my intentions for this chapter here. Well, some more intentions. Bo pulls his hands out of Madison's grasp and backs away. She holds her left wrist as the motion was a little aggressive. He walks away from her and turns around to speak louder as he's leaving. I'm going there. I'm going there tonight and every night forever until I see it again. If you really want to be there for me, you will too. Madison yells at him as he leaves. Take care and be careful, Bo. The front door slams shut as Bo can be heard stomping in the dirt. He slams his truck shut, revs up his pickup engine, and peels out, accelerating away at a high speed. Madison goes to the front of the house and looks out the window, watching him drive away as the sun gets lower over the mountains. That is chapter 5. That's the first time I've reread that chapter since, I was in the home stretch and I was doing my last edits. Like, this is the first time I've read the book. I've never read it. I read it in pieces to myself, and I read it as I was going through it, and I was writing it, and I was ironing it. I was getting, the wrinkles out and trying to make it as smooth a book as possible. And so it's been, almost 8 months since I've really gotten into the nitty gritty of these characters and these details and these moments again. And I got to tell you, I almost started to get a little emotional there because I just was so excited and in love with Madison and Bo getting together, knowing that they are bound by this tragedy that happened to them all those years ago, and hinting at a past life, a side story, a backstory of Madison taking care of Bo when he needed her, and meeting the dumpster fire Denise, knowing how bad his biological mother is. You can see that he really gravitates towards Madison here, and he's the person, or she's the person that Bo wanted to reach out to and blow up her phone, not his mom, and maybe not even Lacey, because Madison and Bo have this bond of this shared tragedy that they survived, together. And so, seeing Bo's fierceness and Madison's trepidation and their reconnecting and kind of, realizing the relationship that I had for these characters start to reveal itself so soon in the book in chapter 5, I just was kind of overwhelmed a little bit there. So this chapter was really, a plot chapter where we have the second accident now. And just like the back of the book blurb, it is suspiciously similar circumstances, the same mile marker, the same monster description, 20 years later. How does that happen? And why does it matter? We know why it matters to Bo. Madison is trying to leave the wound closed. So we'll have to find out in chapter 6 how things progress from there. And so I'm really super proud of that chapter. I think that the hard work of the slower character introduction chapters already starts to pay off here, because we have a real good sense of who they are and where they're at in their lives when they interact with each other. We don't have to guess where they're coming from because we know. So really happy with that chapter. It's probably my favorite chapter that I've read so far, and hopefully it only gets better from here. If you liked that chapter, please consider supporting me. Buy the book. It's $4.99 digital on Amazon. Link in the description. Read ahead, Don't wait on me for the journey, and don't let me interrupt the story. Get into the world, get into the characters, hear the voices for yourself, and let me know what you think. Like this video, subscribe if you're new, comment. Please keep the comments chapter specific and try to give healthy spoiler warnings so we don't ruin anything ahead of time. As always, thank you for watching or listening, and I'll see you in the next video.